programs. So I got asked a little while back about whether it's true that if you don't use it, you lose it. And I happen to think I'm on pretty solid footing saying, yeah, it's true. I got a bit of an explanation as to why. So let's start with the obvious. Physically, if you don't use it, you definitely lose it. Muscle tone, muscle memory, things you do, you better keep doing them or you're gonna forget how. Not completely necessarily, but take as an example me with motorcycle riding. I didn't do this for 15 years, so I was incredibly rusty when I got back on a bike, and I had to relearn from the ground up how to do certain things. So it was really useful to have a class, and it's easier to pick the skill back up if you've lost it, but definitely physical things, you can lose them if you don't keep up with it. I mean, people who are actively training for sports, especially professionals, they have to do physical exertion and keep up their tone and their activity level every day, or they're not going to be able to keep up that sport. They will lose the abilities that they've got. So what about mentally? I would say it's also true that if you don't use it, you lose it mentally. Now, some people are better than others at retaining information, but my job requires me to move from one focus to another over time, and the stuff that I'm not actively working on right now, I work for a software company, so we move on from one section of software changes to another, and a lot of the stuff that I had to remember for the last one doesn't matter anymore. So I forget about that stuff. Why would I remember it? It has to go by the wayside. And I wish I could keep it all in memory at the same time, but I can't. So yeah, your memory and your thoughts and your abilities as far as what you remember and know, that definitely requires some exercise, or you're going to lose that too. Now what about economically? I would argue that a really good example for things like economics and other social stuff is school budgets. So just as an example, if your school's got a budget of, your school district has a budget of $12 million to educate all the kids in your metro hub area, whatever district you're in, that's the amount of money they get. Well, if they only use $10 million of that money, they're screwed. They actually are very much liable to lose part of that budget the next year because they obviously didn't spend it all. Now that's horribly unfair, because what if they need to put money aside? What if this year they happen just not to need the money? But that's the way it works. The money's got to go where it's needed, so if you show evidence that you don't need it, they're not going to keep handing it to you. So what actually happens in reality tends to be that schools and other things where there's a budget that can be lost, they're going to find a way to spend that to ensure that they get that amount of money the next year. And that can lead to some pretty horrendous spending decisions. Anyway, not a very long topic. Just thought I'd cover the idea that, yeah, anything you care about, anything you want to see continue in your life, you got to grab it by the reins and you got to make sure it happens. You got to keep a hold of the things you care about, otherwise, yeah, they'll disappear on you. And even, okay, so relationships. Let's do one more. Relationships. You can absolutely lose out on a relationship if you don't maintain it. People care about you because of your investment in them. And if you stop being invested in them, why would they want to be your friend if you don't ever spend time with them or do anything for them as a friend? So, didn't want to forget that topic.